Hello everyone, welcome to Asifmatics. Today we are going to learn about partial fraction. This is a very important chapter because you will have a complete 5 marks question from this chapter. So this is quite easy, and if you just follow the step by step process, you can get all the 5 marks here. So before starting of this partial fraction, we need to know about the proper and improper fraction. I know that you already have this knowledge, but let's have some revision on this. So proper fraction, what does it mean? The proper fraction means your numerator should be, numerator value should be less than denominator. Okay, denominator value. We write like n should be less than d. What does it mean? So let's see, for an example, we have 4 by 7, a fraction. So your numerator is 4 and your denominator is 4 and denominator is 7. So what we can say that numerator is smaller than denominator. So this is our proper fraction. So this is a proper fraction example. So what about improper fraction? What about improper? So improper fraction is the same thing, just the opposite, where your numerator value will be greater than or equals to your denominator value. Okay, it can be greater, it can be equals. So what does it mean? If I change the same thing to 7 by 4, this fraction is improper because our numerator is 7, is higher value than the denominator 4. So we can write this is an improper fraction. And in case of improper fraction, we can also write this one in mixed form, right? We can write the improper fraction of this one. How to do that? 4 divided by 7. You all know this one. I'm just giving a division. So 4 times 1, 4. Then you will have 3 as a remainder and 4 is the divisor. So we can write it is in a mixed form as 1 3 by 4, right? Normally we write like this. But this is actually 1 plus 3 by 4. Remember this one. So what is 1? 1 is your quotient and 3 is your remainder. We can write R. And 4 is the divisor, so you can write D. So when we write the mixed form is actually Q plus R by D. Okay, we need this one for our discussion, for the next discussion. So remember this thing, what is proper and what is improper. Now in case of algebraic function, when we have the algebraic function, how do we define which one is proper or improper? So what is the, for example, okay, let's see. For example, we have an algebraic function fx equals to 2x minus 13 divided by x plus 1 and x plus 3. Now in this fraction, how do we know is it proper fraction or is it improper fraction? Okay, so to understand, please check, there is a method how to find this one. So the method is very simple. Look at the maximum power of x. So check maximum power of x in numerator and denominator. Okay, now first look at the power of x. So here we can see that the in numerator our x power is 1, and in denominator if you multiply, because it's a factor multiplication, so if you multiply this x, then what happened? This will be x square. This is x square, right? So here we can see that maximum power of x is 2. So in this case our maximum power of x is 2 in denominator, and in numerator the maximum power of x is 1. So easily we can say that this is actually 1 by 2 condition, which is proper. So this is one check you need to do before you start a partial fraction, that whether the fraction is given, is it a proper fraction or is it the improper fraction. And how do you do that? Just see the value of maximum power of x in numerator and denominator. Now we can see another example. For, let's say we have function of x equals to 5x cube plus 2x divided by 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. So, is it proper or improper? Look at the maximum power of x in numerator. So, the maximum power of x in numerator is 3. So, we can think that is 3. And the maximum power of x in denominator is x times x, that will be x square. So, the maximum power of x in denominator will be 2. So, this is clearly improper fraction. Okay, because your power of x in numerator is higher than the power of x in denominator. So this is the check we need to do, and I guess that you understood about how to find out the proper and improper fraction. You do not need to find out, you do not need to write anything, you just need to identify whether this function is proper or improper. Just look at the maximum power of x in numerator and denominator, and then you need to identify only, because based on that your next calculation will start. So let's move on to the partial fraction now. So what is partial fraction? Okay, what is partial fraction? If I say what is partial fraction? So let's start our main topic. So partial fraction, okay, I think you already know this one. If we have this two algebraic function like 5 by x plus 3, okay, this is one function, and then we have another function plus 4 into x minus 2, and if we add these two function, what we can get? We can write it like this: x plus 3 and x minus 2, right? And then we can write 5 into x minus 2 plus 4 into x plus 3. You already know how to add the two fraction. If we have, then how to add or subtract them. So if we finally get this value, we can write 5x minus 10 plus 4x plus 12 divided by x plus 3 x minus 2, and then we can get the result of 9x plus 2 divided by x plus 3 into x minus 2, right? We know the method. If we have two function or two fraction of algebraic function, we know how to add this one. The question is, what is the partial fraction then? The partial fraction is actually the first two one. This is the partial fraction. These two, okay? These are the partial fraction. These are the partial fraction. So what actually we are going to do? We know if we have the partial fraction, how to get the, the complete fraction if we add them. So we know that one. So we know from this step how to come to this step. All right. Now, what we are going to do, if we have this one, if we have this function, how we can go to this breakdown? So if we have this function, how we can go back to this partial fraction, that is the target of this chapter. Okay, you already know the first part. Now we are going to do the reverse step. So the main part here, the partial fraction So the partial fraction means to reverse the process, okay? To reverse the process. To reverse the process. And how to split a function, the thing is how to split a function, how to split this function to go back to its algebraic function, I mean algebraic fraction. Okay, so initially we know if we have the partial fraction like this one, how we can, if we have this two fraction, how to come to this process. And now we have this one, how we can go back to this process. That is the target. All right, I hope you understand what is the meaning of partial fraction. Now, there are different types of partial fractions, or we can say that different forms of partial fractions. But in your syllabus, we have only three forms. So in your syllabus, we have three different types of forms, three types of forms. We can say them as linear or repeated, and the third one is quadratic. So order these three forms. Okay, when you look at the form, the first thing is when you look at the forms, or you need to identify the forms. Okay, just look at the denominator. Okay, you need to identify the form first. These three forms, which one is given for your case. So look at the denominator. Okay, let's see for linear case. So for linear, we can take an example. Okay, let's say we have 5 divided by x plus 1 into x minus 3. So when you need to check the linear form, what you need to see, look at the power of x in denom. Okay, in denominator, look at the power of x in denominator. So this power of x in denominator should be, the power of x in denominator I can write within bracket. Okay, within bracket should be 1. So what actually I'm trying to say is, you need to identify, is it linear? So how do you identify in linear? Look at the x. The x here is just within the bracket, the power of x is 1. Okay, the power of x is 1, that means this is linear. You do not need to multiply, just need to identify that the x power is 1. Okay, now the second case, that what we can say is repeated. So in repeated case, your form will be like this. The form will be like, okay, the same thing we can write 5 divided by, this will be x plus 1, and then we will have x minus 3 whole square. So look at the difference between these two. The first one, the power of x inside the bracket was 1. Now 1 power here is whole square. So this power becomes whole square. So this will be the repeated type form. Now the third form. So in repeated form, there will be one factor which will be in whole square form. It can be both factor, it can be any one factor. Okay. Now the last one is our quadratic. So in case of quadratic, the form will be like this. Let's say we have 5 divided by, we have x plus 1, and now within the bracket we will have x square minus 3. Okay, so within the bracket you have one term which is more than one power of x, or I mean one term which is power of 2. All right, so these are the three different forms. You need to identify that which form is there, and based on that you need to formulate, you need to write your formula. So if we have a linear form, like, okay, let's see an example what we have. So in case of linear, we have 5 x plus 1 and x minus 3. So first you write this one, then put this identical sign. This is the sign of identity. So this is identical to a by x plus 1 plus b by x minus 3. So this is the formula you have to write. Okay, so first you need to identify that whether it is linear, repeated or quadratic. If it is linear, then you need to write the formula like a by x plus 1 plus b by x minus 3. That's it. Now the second case, if it is a, and it will go on, okay, if you have number of terms, then you just add in. Now if it is a repeated terms, if this one is repeated, that means you have 5, then x plus 1 and x minus 3 whole square. One term is in square, whole square form. You write the identity terms, that's 3 straight line here, and then we write a by x plus 1. Okay, then we can write b by x minus 3 first. So this whole square, first you write just power of 1, x minus 3 first, plus c by x minus 3 whole square. So this is the formula, okay? You need to remember these things, how to write it and what form, what kind of formula we are going to write. Then number 3, if we have quadratic form, so quadratic we have 5 divided by x plus 1 and x square minus 3. Within the bracket x square will be there, not the whole square, okay? Remember this one is very important. So in case of quadratic, our identical, you put the identical sign, and then we can write that a by x plus 1 plus, now we need to write bx plus c in case of quadratic divided by x square minus 3. Okay, so this is the formula you have to remember, and we need to go forward from here. So two things is very important: to identify the forms and to identify the whether this is proper or improper case. Okay, so without this identification we cannot progress. So these three formula or these three forms we need to write in this way. Now the question sometimes comes that the students might be confused that whether we should write a by this one first or bx plus c last or what. You can change the notation, no problem. You can write ax plus c divided as plus b divided by x square minus 3 also. So it depends on you, no problem. I will show you some example, then you will get better understanding on that. What I'm trying to say is, this is the first step that you have to show, and then our part is to find out, we have to find out this a, b, c. These are the terms or these are the coefficient that we need to find out to find our partial fraction. So please remember all these three different types of forms like linear, quadratic and repeated. And next video we will see how to use this form, how to identify and how to solve the problems. I hope you understand everything, and thank you for watching this video.